What's up guys, and welcome back to Move Plus. I hope you've had a great week so far. We're gonna start off with 2 minutes of cardio of your choice, so you guys can do a little bit of choose your own adventure there. What we're gonna do is actually combine two movements. So we're gonna go 20 skips. There we go. And then moving into 10 up downs. Okay, and moving through that for 2 minutes back and forth. From there, the next 3 minutes, what we're gonna do is every minute on the minute, we're gonna go through 10 high knees. We then move into 10 deadlifts. And then we move into 10 bent over rows. Okay, and then if you have any time left out of that minute, you can just rest. We're gonna try and get that done under that 60-second cap, and then we've got 3 cycles of that for those remaining 3 minutes. Good to go, Em?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10. So 2 minutes of cardio of your choice, guys. We're doing our 20 skips, 10 up downs. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So we want to spend this first 2 minutes just gradually building the intensity as we go. The body feels a little stiff, maybe from previous workouts, or maybe you've been sitting still all day, that sort of thing. Give it the time just to kind of build into things. Now, as I said, you guys can pick what you want to do, things like jumping jacks, box jumps. If you've got space to do some shuttle runs, that's awesome too. If you happen to own any cardio equipment, feel free to chuck that into the mix as well. We're going with these skips and up downs, so just making sure that we get a nice steady pace going on. We shouldn't be going so fast that we've got to stop at any point. We want a nice solid 2 minutes of work. Okay, so back to the skips again. So with the skipping, guys, you want to think about keeping those elbows nice and tight into the rib cage. So I always like to imagine I'm like holding a tennis ball in my armpits, and that way it just keeps in close, stops me from kind of reaching out and burning my shoulders out by having too excessive of an arm position. Okay, so moving back to the up down. So basically going from standing to a push-up position. So this is kind of like the little brother to the burpee. It will require a little bit more tension through that midsection though. In the burpee, we get to kind of just roll through flat to the ground, whereas this, we actually have to actively hit the brakes. So just make sure we get that nice straight line body position at the bottom. So we're gonna run through this for another 40 or so seconds, and then we'll move into that next part. So remember, that is gonna be high knees, deadlifts, and bent over rows, 10 reps on each, and we have to do that each minute on the minute. Last 20 seconds. Good, 3, 2, 1. So moving into the high knees now for 10. So basically just looking for knees to come up around hip height, staying nice and light on the balls of the feet. We now move to 10 deadlifts. So with the double dumbbells, guys, we're pointing the front ends down. If you happen to just have the one piece of equipment home, you can obviously grab onto either head of the dumbbell, move through that same movement pattern. Same can be done with a kettlebell, probably in a little bit more of a sumo stance. Once we get to 10, we're gonna go to that bottom position and then row those dumbbells towards the outside of the chest. And we want to see that nice, same kind of straight back position that we saw in the deadlift. That'll stay the same here too. Nice. So she's got 20 seconds rest now till the next one. So obviously the faster you work with this, the more rest you get. After that first 2 minute block, should be nice and warmed up and able to kind of push the speed. All right, going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So running high knees again, 10 reps on this one, so 5 each leg, and then moving straight to those dumbbells. Really important you notice that nice close stance that she's got there. She still keeps a little bit of a gap between the knees, so glutes are nice and active. She's not letting things collapse in, but that narrow stance is gonna be really important so we're not running the dumbbells into the outside of our shins or our calves. And then as we move through the rows, guys, it's all about those shoulder blades and the lats. We're trying to draw that back, squeeze it together. So I always like to think like I've got a nice open chest at the peak of the movement, okay? So another 20 seconds rest here, and then we'll get into one last round. Okay, 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So last round through these, nice high knees of these ones. 10, and then move to the 10 deadlifts again. Try to actively squeeze your butt as you stand up, guys. That's the main kind of contributor to this, butt and hamstrings. So try to think about actively contracting those muscles. Getting a nice tall stand up, so we want to see shoulders stacked on top of hips, stacked on top of knees, on top of ankles as well. So you can see at the bottom there, she's going below knee height, so a nice big stretch out at the bottom there, up around the rib cage at the top. So we've still got about 20 seconds left, so if you're still going, that's cool. We'll run out the clock here, and then we'll push on to the next piece. And time. All right, so that is the warm-up done, guys. Have a little bit of a chill. We're gonna check out build next. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna check out the build workout now. How this one is gonna run is we have a 12-minute time domain. We're gonna get through 4 sets of the following. So movement number 1, we have a dumbbell strict press. So setting up at the shoulders, pushing up to overhead, so that is just purely the arms doing the work there. You guys are gonna do 15 to 20 reps, depending on what kind of weights you have, what kind of fitness level you're at, that sort of thing. You guys can decide that. Second movement is gonna be dumbbell upright rows. So from thighs up to collarbones. And again, 15 to 20 reps, so you guys can decide. The way this should kind of run is if we've got 4 sets in 12 minutes, we're gonna do a cycle about every 3 minutes. So if you can get kind of movement 1 in the first minute, movement 2 in the second minute, and then the third minute is there for you to have a breather. Good to go?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10. So strict press is up first. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So with these guys, they don't necessarily have to be unbroken. Obviously, we're going to start off trying to do that, but as the shoulders fatigue, because this is going to be shoulders on shoulders, you're going to find that they'll get pretty spicy. So if you do need to break them up, maybe go 10 and 10 or 8 and 7, something like that, depending on which rep range you're actually going to go for. Should make sure that we're not letting the fatigue get so great that the form is starting to kind of fly out the window. Okay, so shaking that off. So once we've done our 15 or our 20 strict presses, we're going to move to the sumo, or the upright rows, sorry. All right, so jumping into these ones. So with this one, we're going to go from basically in front of your pockets up to the collarbones. That's kind of our top marker there. And you'll notice at the top, and we get to elbows really, really high. It kind of almost makes like a V shape at the top there. That's ideally what we're after. That as opposed to kind of pulling up and then kind of turning it into a weird bicep curl where the hands end up above the height of the elbows. We make those shoulders really work hard and those traps work hard as well. Get that nice high pull there. Nice. Okay. So the next set is going to start at the 3-minute mark, so she's got a little bit of time to rest and recover, which is good, because those shoulders are going to be getting pretty heated up. And feel free on these breaks to stretch a little bit or mobilize the shoulders, flush them out a little bit. It's always a good idea. Okay, 20 more seconds, we'll hit this second set, and we're going to be doing 4 sets in total. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So back on the strict press. So really important with this one, guys, if you want to think basically everything from the ribs down is just going to be locked in place. So there's no dipping and driving through the legs, no movement through the hips there. We want to be really strong through the belly and the glutes and the quads, keeping everything in that static position. You notice with the arms, using that nice neutral setup, right? So the palms are kind of facing inwards, that as opposed to being out wide. She's going to go from there. That's just going to keep those shoulders in the strongest possible position and also the safest position too. It's a lot less wear and tear when we're in closer to the body. Okay, we'll get ready to move into the upright rows. Now this is also a strict movement. Now this one's going to look fairly similar to like a sumo deadlift type pull, but it's just the top half of it. So you've got to be really cautious that you don't get tempted into kind of starting to bend a little bit the hips and starting to gain momentum from there. It's just the shoulders and the traps, a little bit of bicep as well, drawing up to that top position. And one thing that you probably won't be able to see from here, but what Em will be doing is keeping her shoulder blades kind of wound back, so nice and active through the entire upper back. She doesn't want to get kind of hunched over or rolled in internally. She's going to keep everything drawn back. Okay, so 1 more minute till the next one. So we've got 2 down, 2 to go. Okay, 30 seconds to go. And hit up this third set. So as we've spoken about before, guys, in previous workouts, if you happen to be stuck with some lighter dumbbells, that's the only option you've got at home. Feel free to slow the tempo down a little bit, or even just work on pauses at either end of the movement. That can add a little more difficulty to it. 10 more seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, something that Em does really well with the finish position on this press is she's just taken a moment to just slightly push her head forward. And what that does is just really engages that whole shoulder girdle into the right position. That as opposed to her kind of finishing with the dumbbells out in front and that head behind. So you don't need to be excessive. I don't need to see the entire head forward of the arms, but I should see your ears and your biceps line up together. And that way everything's in a nice stacked position. It also makes it easier too. If you are taking a breather for a moment, or working on that tempo, you can actually hang out at the top in a really stable position versus feeling like you're kind of dumping into that low back. Okay, 10 seconds and we'll get these high pulls going on. Ready, and go for it. If you happen to be someone working with a kettlebell, obviously we would just work on that narrower grip, or if you have one dumbbell, you can actually kind of get the first 2 fingers and the thumb around the inside of the handle, do the same motion, or if the plates at either head are the right size, you can actually just grab onto those. And if that doesn't feel like it works out, work with just one side, do 10 upright rows on one arm, and then switch and do 10 on the other side, as long as we're kind of getting through those reps one way or the other. Okay, so 1 more minute's rest and then we'll hit this fourth and final set. Okay, 30 seconds. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and fourth round now. So remember, we don't want to let those legs get involved. It's always really tempting because it will make it a little easier if you can just kind of dip and drive. We want to put the work purely on those shoulders so it's a lot more isolated. And beauty of this is going to help benefit all the pressing movements that we do. So things like push-ups, burpees, floor presses, anything like that. If you're someone who gets into handstand kind of work, that sort of thing too, or bear crawls where we're pressing the ground away, this is all going to tie into that. So in a moment, once M's shoulders have recovered a little bit, we'll get into those upright rows for the last set. So as I said, guys, you can adjust the numbers, whether it's 15 or 20. If 15 reps takes you a full minute across both movements there, just stick with that. If you can get the 20 in under the minute, that's cool too. Okay, 3, 2, 1. So last set on the upright row. So as I said, she's going to draw those shoulder blades back, keep everything nice and active through that upper back. And then she's looking for that collarbone height at the top. Now, that might vary from person to person. If you sort of maybe are a little bit inflexible in that internal rotation piece, you might be pulling just to sort of sternum height or kind of pec height, that sort of thing. It's more important that you keep that nice elbow position above the dumbbells versus trying to crank it up just for the sake of getting to the collarbone. So make it more about what kind of position my upper arm is in versus just where the dumbbell is at. And then you just go to wherever you can. Obviously, the long-term goal is to get up to those collarbones. So we've still got a little bit of time left on that clock there. We'll let that run out and then we'll move into the next piece in a moment. Remember, if you've got those lighter dumbbells, guys, slow things down, spend a little bit more time under tension. Okay, last 60 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds, so hopefully you're wrapping up the last of those upright rows. Okay, 10 seconds. Three, 2, 1, and done. All right, guys, that is the build workout done. Take a little bit of recovery time. We're going to finish things off with a little bit of stretching next. Alrighty, guys, so now that all the hard work's done, we're going to bring things down a little bit, slow things down, and get a little bit of mobility going on. The first drill we're going to do is a seated shoulder stretch. So we're going to chuck a minute on the clock here. The setup is going to be arms behind you, okay, and legs out in front, either bent or straight, whatever's most comfortable. Now, over time, not necessarily straight away, but over time, we're going to try and work the hands closer and closer together, try and pull those shoulder blades back, and we're going to also try and work the hips forward. So we're kind of opening that angle up underneath the armpit there or underneath the shoulder. Now, depending on how tight your shoulders already are and how pumped you are from the workout, that'll decide sort of how close you can get those hands. The main thing we want to do here is deliberately draw back. So try and expand across that chest, lift the chest up as well, and then try to breathe into it. So it's like we're trying to make that rib cage get bigger and smaller. And we're just hanging out there, getting that really nice sort of bicep, shoulder, pec tie-in. All right, so that's our first drill. Second one we're gonna do is what we call straddle and sweep. So we're gonna take a really, really wide kind of straddle stance. From there, we're gonna forward fold down to one foot and sweep across to the other. So we'll do this for a minute as well. So again, depending on how flexible you are, that'll decide sort of how deep you go. If you can go hands to the ground, that's awesome. That's kind of ultimately where we wanna get to, but maybe to start off with, you just kind of hover around knee or shin height. And as Em's doing there, just spending sort of 5-10 seconds at end range, hanging out off to one side. Let those hamstrings, groin, glutes, low back, that whole kind of rear chain area get a really nice stretch. And you could obviously play around with the width of the stance as well. So the more flexible you are, you're about to push those feet out further and further. See, Em's even getting down to almost going like forearms to the ground, which is sort of next level kind of mobility. Alrighty, so that's our second drill, guys. What I want you to do is go through that 3 or 4 times or whatever you have time to fit in, but try and get a couple of rounds but get the body nice and loose. Otherwise, we will catch you next time, and that's been your Move Plus workout.